It is a scheme that is happening all over the country in school districts that have been targeted by the corporate oligarchy for takeover and for charter school expansion. That's what common enrollment is. We don't have the numbers that we should have had today because we scheduled this when the school board had scheduled a vote on this issue. We stopped that vote today. And we're going to stop that vote in June. Why do they schedule it for the last meeting in June? Because they think you will have gone away and you won't be paying attention. We will be paying attention. We have many community groups that have already signed on to say, no, this is not what we want for OUSD students. And we will be there continually now and through June to make it go away. It is a deception. This isn't about whether you approve or disapprove of charter schools. This is a deception to the taxpayers that pay for both systems and for the parents that enroll their students in both systems by saying they are just the same. There is no difference between charter and OUSD schools. That is a lie, and we have information about that. And so we don't want the school board to deceive the parents into thinking enrolling their children in one school or the other has no consequences. People can make a choice, but we are not to blur the line and the distinction between two separate systems. One democratically controlled, accountable to the state, one privately controlled, accountable to no one. Thanks for coming. We have some directions about how we're going to operate today. It is to show our strength, to show we're here, to show we will continue to be here, not here necessarily to disrupt, but very much to be seen, and thank you for being seen. And we have
So if everyone can just line up on the black line, we're just going to slowly move in a block.
No, somebody from the New York Times asked me my name.
coming out tonight and letting us hear your voice. We're going to get started in about 10 or 15 seconds. So if you would, please join us. Have a seat or hang out and get started. So, Mr. Rakestraw, so welcome. Before we do that, to today's meeting, it's Wednesday, January 27th, 2016. Welcome to the meeting. Can we begin with an attendance roll call? All right. Up first are our student board members. Student Director of
So I, as being another student, right, not as a board member, but a student along with other students from my school, we stand outside in front of the main office. We protested. We said our demands where we want OUSD to change the system the way how admins are being hired, right? Because we know on Article 12 for the teacher contract, there's the selection committee. We want the same for your admin, right? And also, we want that to happen. And also our Vice Principal Carson and one of our SSOs, Campbell, we feel like they bring such a negative vibe or culture into Fremont because the way they decide to handle certain situations, I think is not the best because I feel like Carson escalates, right, the situation instead of like, I'm the adult here, this is the, way to act, right?
Excuse me, Student Director Ramirez, I understand this, but we do have a meeting norm about no personal attacks.
Oh.
And I feel like what you're saying right now is very personal. And I would ask if you could find a different way to express that.
So please continue, Student
Oh,
Director.
okay, thank you. So, we feel like situation like this is not very safe for our school culture, right? And we were protesting about that. We also were demanding that, of course, to have a selection committee in our admin. And also, if that doesn't work out or if that is not approved or whatever, we want to have the trainings be mandatory, right? Be some special trainings on how staff members from the school are supposed to react to certain situations and what's the best thing to do, right? To like stay neutral and keep everybody safe. So tomorrow we're hoping to do the same because we really want our voice to be out there and we really feel like it's important, right? And so tomorrow what we're going to do is we're going to do a silent protest as well, right? And I would like to invite you all to come, right? We would like to see parents, community members, students out there, right? Standing together. So we're going to protest silently again for our demands, right? And so we get something out of it.
Thank you for sharing, Student Director Ramirez, and for your advocacy. That is how it happens, and I hope you will keep us posted.
And admit that it's been hard for us to get to a place where we feel like we're actively building, but I know that Principal Chavin has been actively engaged in numerous community to share. I picked up last night at the community engagement. This Councilman actually has a 71% cohort graduation.
Mike Hutchinson, proud graduate of Oakland Public Schools. There's just so many things going on right now, it's hard to really keep track. I think it was really inappropriate to chastise the student director, who is by definition our student leader here in this district. To chastise her publicly for what she thinks, for her doing what she thinks is best in terms of advocating for those she is responsible for, is, in my mind, unacceptable. And it really, I think, shows where some people's hearts really lie. Because when we hear about it's about the kids, it's about the kids, it's about the students, it's not adult issues, it's student issues. I was listening to a student, and then I watched the student get cut off by our school board directors. So I think that's really, really telling. And it also ties into everything else that's happening here. The fact that public comment has now been cut at the meetings, where we're now grouping things together. And I think, President Harris, to have a school board meeting where there is no new or old business being discussed at all, there's not even a public hearing, every single actionable item today has been dumped into the consent report. I think that you're trying to hide it from public discussion here in front of the community. If you weren't trying to do that, why don't we at least have some of these discussed as new business? We have time and there's room in the agenda today. So why is every actionable item dumped into the consent report? And about Monday, I think it was great to finally have a Monday meeting where more people showed up. It was very interesting to see people from the California Charter School Association and Educate 78 and GO, and a lot of other people heavily represented in the room. The issue I had with the meeting is the confusion in the presentation between equity and allowing charter schools into our public school system. When I say equity, I mean that students in this city finally have the resources they need, especially students that look like me. I do not mean giving charter schools equitable access to our public school system.
Trish Gorham, President of the Oakland Education Association. When we talk about equity, I want to first speak about Fremont School and the safety issues at Fremont School. If there were equitable protocols put in place, adequate training of all personnel to handle a situation where they can be trained to de-escalate rather than escalate. It's really quite disturbing that we have had 2 incidents over the last 3 weeks involving students that could have been avoided. And the way it's handled in the aftermath is not equitable. There are teachers put on administrative leave with pay, not because they are criminalized or it's decided that they have done wrong, but while an investigation is happening, those that are involved in the investigation need to be away from the scene and not interacting with people that are witnesses. So I hope that we learn that there needs to be an adequate protocol. You know, I think you're pretty clear how the teachers feel about common enrollment. So my biggest concern right now is we're not sure how the school board feels about common enrollment. You're going to vote later. You haven't made a decision, but yet the administration is out there selling it. They tried to sell it Monday in the presentations, and they are going to continue to sell it in community meetings. How can the administration sell a concept that hasn't been adopted by this school board? I do not think that's responsible action. Thank you. 7 seconds again on the public comment. If you are going to do it later in the meeting, at least make it a time certain and not, well, is it going to be 2 hours into the meeting or 3 hours into the meeting or an hour and a half? If you're going to do it later, put it at a time certain and say, we're going to stop the agenda here. It's time for public comment. So the public knows.
For 2016-17 and the district's budget development process. So a preview of what we will be spending money on next year.
Yeah.
Mr. Superintendent.
We will
open this up.
We'll be back. We'll be back. We'll be back. We'll be back. Do the right thing. You guys got this. We'll be back.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
Excuse me, I would like to address the people who are leaving when we are getting to the heart of the business of
We'll
this
be back.
We'll be back.
We'll take a few moments here, pause for a few moments as we transition to